First of all, I hope everyone's enjoyed the thing so far, and we will be serving dessert shortly. However, we do have a few speeches to get through, so without further ado, could we please put our hands together for the luckiest man in the room, Reece?
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I go any further, I just think it's right and have to say how stunning Georgia looks today, even more so than she does normally. As do all the bridesmaids in the room, even if one of them refused to wear pink. Thank you to each and every one of you for sharing this special occasion with us both. We're both really appreciative and grateful to every single one of you here today. I want to thank Mark and Rosh for not only accepting my request to marry their daughter, but also for allowing me to stay in their home so that we can be together. Their unconditional support and wisdom throughout our relationship is greatly appreciated. In addition, I would also like to thank Bernard and Linda for all the support they provided with purchasing our first house, life advice, and particular acceptance of me and my unusual quirks. An unusual but definitely most appropriate thank you is to Nathan and Liv, who are an incredible dad and stepmom to Evie, and they've been an incredible support to both me and Georgia in our relationship. And I'm also incredibly grateful for how well it's been for me to be in Evie's life. I want to thank my family, my loving, patient mother, who has had to endure more than most parents should, my beautiful grandma, and of course my granddad. Between the three of them, they have unwaveringly pursued the custodial sentence of parenting, mentoring, and shaping me into who I am today. Some would say they failed. No doubt this is an equally special day for them, as they finally get to celebrate the huge weight off their shoulders as I have now officially been transferred to Georgia. There will be many people in here today holding their breath in nervous anticipation of a string of inappropriate and immature remarks, coupled with embarrassing stories. However, having been kicked out of one wedding here, I feel that's enough for one lifetime, and I don't fancy getting kicked out of my own. Sorry, Sammy. I remember not long before I met Georgia, I was sat at my granddad's house. We were discussing why I was single, and I recall saying that a 29-year-old man living with his mum who cannot drive is not exactly a catch. Explained to them that I can hardly find the one, and it felt impossible. Then, completely by chance, I saw Georgia in the most stereotypical, soppy, classic romance. One of the moments where you're feeling alone in a busy room, and then wow, my eyes were drawn to this stunning vision of bright red hair, beautiful eyes and piercings. Something about her piqued my interest immediately. I knew I had to talk to her, so I did what any true man would do in that situation. I swiped right. Not long after, a Tinder notification came through on my phone, and I had my match, even if she had originally swiped no on me. So with the sound of Grandad's words ringing in my ears, the pesting began, constantly nagging Georgia to me. It's ironic really, now she's the one that nags me. I had to meet her fast before somebody else stepped in, and looking at her today, you can see why. Our first date was as romantic as our first encounter, a lovely trip to Sunseekers. I really know how to charm a woman, and I didn't even have to pay. She had minutes on her account. Thankfully, Georgia saw past the fact I was a 29-year-old man-child who was arguably more challenging than her daughter, though she will probably argue I'm worse. Clearly, she wanted to fix her upper to whip into shape. They say there are two ways to train a man, with a carrot or a stick. Early in our relationship, it's fair to say that Georgia chose the latter. I remember waking up to her on top of me with both her hands gripping around my throat. Clearly, I'm being irritating when I'm asleep. I also have numerous videos of her pasting me for misbehaving. This was all within the first 3 months. Maybe I should have walked away, but maybe I like to get disciplined. It's now very clear that she did this to build our relationship, or so she says, and to establish who is the manager, as she calls herself. Despite the big downs, it's clear that we now constantly look to build each other up. She is the reason I learned to drive. She helps me look after myself, and she looks to help me better myself. Whether that's at work, so I do my revision for my exams, for teaching me to do domestic stuff, and without doubt, she'll get me doing some DIY one day. Whereas in turn, I still can't get her to turn up to work on time. Georgia's had to overcome so much in the last 2 years. She has really struggled with a skin condition. Her mum, who unfortunately can't be here today, has been in and out of hospital and seen her physical condition decline, and we had numerous setbacks with the house. She also lost the job that she loved, and all through this, she never complained because she had to put up with me as well. When people get married, they'll talk about how gorgeous their partner is, and clearly that's evident. But what they don't often talk about is the level of resilience that their partner shows. When life tries to beat Georgia down, she gets right up and faces the world. She's done so with dignity, grace, and smiles without complaint. Not only has she remained a dedicated tutor to me, a loving partner, an amazing friend, daughter, and sister to everyone here today, she's also been the best mum. Being Georgia's husband is an honour. I am blessed with the most amazing woman, even as she's probably rolling her eyes at my preachy speech. Since I've come into Georgia and Evie's life, I've had the privilege of supporting them both, especially as Evie's growing now from a little girl to a young woman. A young lady whose lip lights up every room she's in, with her cheeky little smile, a gorgeous little face, abundance of characters, and clearly covered in stickers as well. I just wish she slept as long as her mum does. When you look to marry someone and settle down, you look for things that will be a perfect partner for yourself. For me, I needed a woman who was strong enough to deal with my nonsense, someone to put me in my place, someone who has patience and humour. George has all of these qualities and so much more. She even comes with Evie, who's a mini version of herself. Fortunately, she's at my mental age, so I've got someone to get along with. So please, can everyone raise a glass to Georgia, a beautiful friend, daughter, sister, mother, and my amazing but unfortunate life. Georgia.
Heck, I didn't imagine Reece would get me all choked up, but here we are. So, first of all, I'd like to say how great it is to see these two finally together. It's going to be an easy crowd, this one, isn't it? For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kurtis, Reece's younger brother. I'm probably best known for my volunteer work saving puppies from house fires, returning lost kittens to their family, and donating so much to charity they've actually had to ask me to slow down. For those who do know me, just shut up. But seriously, not many people can say they have such a caring, handsome, funny and hard-working brother to look up to. But I've made sure Reece definitely can. Despite the obvious admiration he has for me, having known Reece for 26 years now, I do have quite a few stories about him, as I'm sure you can all imagine. Unfortunately, Reece has placed some very strict censorship rules upon this speech, so a lot of them I won't be getting told today. I can't say that one. Not that one either. My last tell us one. Definitely not last time. Right, we're going to have to leave those. So just like my darling brother, I'm going to have to keep this short and sweet. I don't want my big mouth to get me in trouble. That's Reece's job. I don't want to steal the limelight from this big day. So, for those who've known Reece a long time, he's always been a little shining light on our lives, let's say. Even from a young age, he had a very good talent for winding people up, and he was never shy about showing this talent, whether it's to teachers, coaches, parents, or just strangers. Just anyone he could get his hands on. And no better story demonstrates this cheekiness as when he got into a bit of bother at 13 years old. One day, we got called down to the police station because somebody had smashed a McDonald's window. And somehow, little innocent, wide-eyed, bushy-tailed Reece had ended up being arrested over it. Now, most 13-year-olds in that situation would probably keep their head down and stay quiet. Not Reece. While the officer was arresting Reece, he couldn't resist the urge of reciting his own Miranda rights at the police officer as if he were the one doing the arresting. What makes this even more impressive, this level of confidence, isn't just the fact he was 13. He had no real understanding of the law further than what he'd seen on TV. Now, before any of Georgia's family starts to get worried about Reece's criminal history, I do need to stress he was innocent. He did not smash that McDonald's window. But it wasn't Reece's first experience of an interrogation. Because years before this police interview, our family had conducted its very own investigation of what I must say, a much worse crime. And unlike the McDonald's incident, Reece's name has never been completely cleared. And of course, to those who know, I am talking about the great case of who stole my granddad's toothpaste. But nobody wants to hear about that today. Now, as much as we all love Reece's cheekiness and see it as a lovable character quirk, some other people haven't always taken to it quite as fondly. It might be hard to believe, looking at this big, burly macho of a man, but when Reece would showcase his witty charm on a football pitch, he didn't always go down very well. In fact, during his late teens, Reece spent so much time in hospital that saying he had more hot dinners in a hospital gown than at home would only be a slight exaggeration. We're talking multiple brain bleeds, which, before anyone asks, no, he was like this before then. Pancreatitis from being kicked, a broken back, and pretty much everything in between. He got to the point where our family had its own reserved parking space at the hospital. And the family and the staff at the hospital still know Reece so well that when I was in there recently to get a checkup, they didn't take my name, they just looked at me and said, "Aren't you Reece's brother?" Now, as the caring brother I've always been to him, I didn't actually show this and visit him at the Royal Lancaster Infirmary Resort as often as I should have done. Well, the one time I did, I will admit it was a difficult moment. Seeing my big brother there, looking all fragile, hooked up to machines, with the screen showing his heart rate and blood pressure beeping away. At that age, I'd never really seen my big brother looking so flustered, watching his heart rate like that. Well, other than the time Grandad's blood pressure monitor was used as a lie detector during the great toothpaste investigation. But again, I won't go into that today. Now, the way Reece is has got him in trouble over the years, but he has used that very same charm to get himself out of trouble. There was one time when he was at school, Reece hadn't done his homework and was given a detention. He turned up looking really solemn and explained to the teacher that he was having some difficulties at home. Naturally, the teacher asked what had happened. Reece then told him that his pet rabbit had sadly caught myxomatosis and had to be put down. The teacher could see the heartbreak in his eyes and immediately obviously let him go. The issue is, our rabbit hadn't caught myxomatosis, nor had it been put down. We didn't have a rabbit. While that might be a funny story now, Reece's slightly flexible relationship with the truth back then does explain a lot to why he was a prime suspect in the great toothpaste investigation of 2006. Now, most of my stories about Reece, like I'm sure most of yours is, involve him being confident, outgoing, cocky, any of the synonyms to that word. He's never really been one to show weakness or vulnerability. However, there have been a few rare occasions where that tough exterior has cracked a little. That cocky bravado he demonstrated while being arrested as a young teenager completely disappeared after his first night out. It did also vanish when Grandma went round smelling our breaths to see who'd eaten Grandad's missing toothpaste. But we're not reopening that investigation today. His first proper night out, however, is a very different story. That night ended with Reece pale, shaking, and pleading for his brother's help, like a soldier experiencing the worst cases of war. During the early hours of the morning, Luca, who had to share a room with Reece, had to call my mum to tell her that Reece was being sick. And not just a little bit sick. We're talking about sick all over the bedroom floor shared by two teenagers. Which, obviously, with two teenage boys sharing a bedroom, the bedroom floor was the home to pretty much everything they owned. This meant school books, school uniforms, and pretty much everything they'd ever owned were now no longer in working condition. The same could be said about the living room, the sofa, and the white carpet across the two floors of the house. Mum, understandably, was outraged and told Reece to strip down to his boxers and march them straight into the shower. What followed was several minutes of Reece curled up in the corner of the shower, pale as a ghost, eyes filled with fear, pleading Mum for help. Now, Reece's pleas for help meant he was begging Mum to make it stop. But our lovely caring mother had very different plans. Because this quickly turned into a live demonstration for the rest of us. Even the cat came to spectate, which resulted in Mum barking at the cat not to feel sorry for Reece. We were all ceremoniously summoned to watch Reece, pleading Mum for help, and used him as a real-life warning about the dangers of alcohol. Weren't to treat that one, Mum. When Reece later slipped into a deep, drunken sleep, Mum spent the rest of the night with the small task of deep cleaning the entire house. Then, the following morning, she made the rest of us a lovely cooked breakfast, with the exception of Reece. Instead, his first hangover consisted of loud annoying music being played, followed by a phone call from Grandad to lecture him. Now, this kind of no-nonsense parenting may explain a lot about how our household eventually ended up with a toothpaste-guzzling thief. With all that said, quirks and all, Reece has always genuinely been a caring and ever-present brother, even if he does mix up with what sometimes feels like a deliberate effort to irritate and annoy everyone around him. But underneath all that, he's got a heart of gold and genuinely deserves all the happiness in the world. I can't think of anyone better to provide that than Georgia and Evie. Growing up in our house, there was always one big mystery. Well, two if you count missing toothpaste, but nobody cares about that. The real one was whether anyone would willingly take the responsibility of Reece. And thankfully for us all, someone has. Maybe unfortunate for Georgia, but for the rest of us, it's the best news we could have had. Joking aside, Georgia, you've really brought out the very best of him. You've made him an even better man than he already was. How he managed to charm someone as amazing as you will forever be another mystery to our family. But I couldn't be happier to welcome you into it. So please can everyone raise a glass to Reece and Georgia. I wish you both a lifetime of happiness. Oh, that's good news.
One is me. I'm going to do a speech too. Firstly, I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here. It means the world to us to have family and friends here celebrating with us. I'd also like to give a special thank you to Reece for stepping up today and doing such a fantastic job as groom. As unfortunately his brother Kurtis is already taken. Thanks for being the best mum. Thank you to my bridesmaids for everything. I'd like to say you made the process smooth, but it took us 5 weeks to decide on a dress colour. And still, someone's not wearing the colour. But they're all in the same style, so we're alright. For those of you that don't know, me and Reece actually met on Tinder. So if anyone here is currently swiping away thinking it never works, well, here we are. Proof that sometimes persistence really does pay off. And when I say persistence, I mean persistence. If it wasn't for Reece's dedication, determination, and probably a bit of stubbornness, we wouldn't be standing here today. After we've been seeing each other for a few weeks, he finally asked me if I'd like to be his girlfriend, and I excitedly replied yes. To which he said, I'll keep that in mind. Now, to be fair to Reece, he has forgiven quite a lot since being with me. My constant lateness, occasional grumpiness, and the fact that I somehow managed to lose absolutely everything. And of course, the time I accidentally got caught eyeing up Kurtis on White Lund, which was completely innocent. But jokes aside, Reece, you are the most patient, kind and supportive person that I know. You've stepped up and become a very important part in Evie's life, and you make me laugh every single day. You're not just my husband, you're my best friend, my partner in crime, and the person I want beside me through everything. Finally, I just want to say thank you to everyone here today. Your love and support means so much to us. We're so grateful we can celebrate this special day with you. So if everyone could once again raise a glass to Reece. Evie wants to say something.
Come on, Evie.
I'm here for the wedding. So I can throw flowers. And now I'm here, so I can come to the wedding and throw flowers. And I'm gonna do a spin.
Run away microphone then. Guys, that's some of your desserts, but can we have a big round of applause for all that? Because that was the most quiet room ever. A bit louder then, come on!
they won a game!